gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin, your daily dose of sports and entertainment. And today on the show, we will be previewing, breaking down, giving you my thoughts of the Week 11 college football season. It's finally here. I mean, I can't believe it. It just felt like yesterday it was week 1, but we're already in week 11 of the CFP season. Can you CFP season, excuse me? Can you believe it? But where does all that time go? But we have no time to digress because we got a lot of important games that mean a lot of things in the upcoming college football playoffs rankings and within conferences. We got a lot of things to talk about, preview, and give our predictions on. So let's start with maybe one of the most important games of the weekend, not only in the SEC, but maybe even in the CFP rankings that come out on Tuesday. Number 10, Ole Miss, and number 1, Georgia. And this is very interesting because, Ole Miss got a 38-35 victory over the Texas A&M Aggies at home, avoided the upset before Georgia, and Georgia played a top 15 opponent in Missouri this past weekend and got a hard fought 30-21 win, and it was very close. If Missouri had not turned the ball over late and gave Georgia the short field and got them in field goal we and Missouri could have drove down. Maybe Georgia comes into this game with one loss, but the Dogs' defense prevailed at the end, even without Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, Carson Beck. That Georgia offense is still very dangerous, and their defense seems to be getting it together after a struggle the first couple weeks. But in this game here, which will be Saturday, which will be on Saturday, I think it's going to be very interesting because can Ole Miss run the ball with Quinshawn Junkins and get Jackson Dart in second and third, second down, second and shorts, and third and shorts to help him out so he's not constantly back there in third and eights, second and longs, third and longs. Can he help out? Can Quinshawn Junkins get the run game going against the stout Georgia defense and help Jackson Dart out back there? Because if Georgia gets you in a third and long, look out. Their defense is coming and they're hungry. And that's what concerns me because Ole Miss, at their pass pro is very suspect at times. Is very suspect in my opinion. And that's what worries me. And Ole Miss's defense, Pete Golden has done a really good job. But can they, on their side of the ball, can they generate enough pressure to get to Carson Beck and force him into some errors? I mean, there's not many teams that have done that this year. I know Georgia has had those slow starts, but the Ole Miss cannot get behind. They have to start fast. They have to be able to run the ball and be efficient. Georgia's defense, like I said, you get in third and long with them, you're in their hands. Ole Miss is going to have to be aggressive. They're going to have to possibly go for it on fourth and ones, fourth and twos, possibly to have a chance in this game because Georgia is hungry and they are upset that they're not number one in possibly in the CFP ranking this Tuesday. This is very interesting. This is at Georgia. If this was at Hottie Toddy, I would think about picking Ole Miss. I really would. But it's at Georgia. The spotlight on Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. And Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin sometimes. Oh, Lane Kiffin and the spotlight sometimes don't go together. And plus, College Game Day will be there. Another editor's note: College Game Day will be in over the hedges as well. I think Georgia's defense is gonna give Ole Miss trouble. I think they seen what Alabama put on tape against them. I think the Dogs get it done, and I think the Dogs get it done 33 to 21. I think the Dogs get a relatively impressive victory. I think they get the Jackson Dart a little too much, and the Dogs get a 33-21 win. Now on to another implication game within college football. Well, college football, and that is Miami at number 4 Florida State. What a big time rivalry game we got for you Saturday at 3:30 on ABC. Florida State number 4 in the AP and number 4 in the college football playoff rankings in the first edition. Miami, this is very interesting because Tyler Van Dyke and the offense is coming off a 20-6 loss. No, excuse me, 17-6 loss against NC State on the road in Riley, and Florida State coming off a 24-7 win over Penn in a very strugglesome game. This is very interesting because both these teams have been known to struggle. Florida State has already clinched their spot in Charlotte. They're going to be one of the teams competing for the ACC championship. But the question is, will Miami decide to show up and spoil Florida State's playoff potential hopes? And that's what makes this game so compelling and hard to pick because Miami's Jekyll and Hyde. One week they play really well, and you think, oh, Miami might be a dark horse in the ACC. Who knows what they could be? But then you got Florida State, who almost loses to Boston College and has a sloppy day against Pitt. It's very interesting for both these teams. Miami's defense, they've been holding it down the most. They've been making sure the teams don't get out in front too much when their offense is struggling because Tyler Van Dyke has had games where he's throwing the ball really efficient and the offense is looking like one of the best, if not the best offense in the ACC possibly. But then there's other games where he's underthrowing, overthrowing, he's fumbling, he's getting picked off, and and that's what makes him so inconsistent. But Florida State's done that a couple times themselves, especially against BC. They were up double digits, almost lost it, but in this game here, you know, I feel like this has a making of being a trap game because Florida State, they control their own destiny. They will go as far as Jordan Travis will take them. And they've already got their spot in the ACC title game locked up. I think we get the Miami team that we saw against Clemson and Texas A&M early in the season. I think we get the Miami that's going to play really tough, really hard. They're going to give Florida State all they can handle and then some. But I'm going to pick the Seminoles this game because Jordan Travis, that offense, and I think the Seminoles defense gets to Van Dyke a couple times. I think the Seminoles get a hard fought 35-27 win over the Canes and get a big win to keep their CFP hopes alive. Now on to Pac-12 action, shall we? And possible CFP implications as well within the Pac-12. You got number 13 Utah and number 5 Washington. Now, this is a really big game because Utah sitting there at 7-2 to 4-2 within the Pac-12. And they still have a chance, a slight outside chance that they can beat Washington on Saturday at Husky Stadium to sneak into the Pac-12 title game if things go their way. And they can do it all with Bryson Barnes. But then you got the Washington Huskies. Here they are, unbeaten, number 5, looking really good. Michael Penix in the offense looking really good. They got the ground game going. They just keep things going. And the only thing concerning me with Washington is their defense has given up 33 and 42 the last 2 weeks. You're not going to beat very many teams doing that. Just ask USC, which we'll get to them in a minute. You ain't going to beat very many teams doing that all the time. They gave up 33 to Oregon and almost lost it if Oregon hadn't made some bonehead decisions. And now the question is, what Utah offense are we getting on 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 Saturday? Are we getting the Utah offense that put 55 up on Arizona State and put 34 up on USC? Are we getting the Utah that only put up 6 against Oregon? That's going to be the big key. Can Bryson Barnes and the offense get things going early? This is going to be very interesting because Washington's defense can be had. There's no team that you can't run the ball or you can't throw on them. It's shown. Arizona State, Stanford, USC all shown that Washington's defense has some weaknesses and can be taken advantage of. But the big matchup that I'm looking forward to is Michael Penix against that Utah secondary, one of the best in the country. Can the Utah secondary hold up against a Doomsday and the other receivers for the Huskies to ensure that their defensive line that has been feasting all year long and even got to Caleb Williams a couple times in their game, can they get to Penix, force him into some turnovers, some sacks, and some third and longs? Should be interesting. But this is at Washington. The Huskies are coming off a big win, 10-point win under the lights in Coliseum. They're coming back home where they normally play tough and play really good football. I think Washington, I think I think their offense, once again, will do just enough. I think Utah will have some points on the board, but I think Washington gets offense. I think they get the final say because they take advantage of the passing defense of the Utes, and Michael Penix has a big day through the air. I got the Huskies winning 30-27 over the Utes. Now on to Pac-12 after dark. You got USC at number 6 Oregon. This will be on at 10:30 p.m. on Fox. A little Pac-12 after dark edition, shall we? Now this is very interesting because earlier today the news was broken. Well, you'll be watching this on Tuesday, but on Sunday Alex Grinch had been officially fired. He is no longer the USC defensive coordinator. So, how does that change my prediction? Well, I picked USC to beat Washington, and it backfired. I picked USC to beat Notre Dame, it backfired. Their defenses let me down big time. But now that Alex Grinch is out, maybe I changed my tune. But they're playing number 6 Oregon, who Bo Nix, he's not getting enough love for the Heisman. Dude is balling. He's looking like he may be the favorite to win the Heisman. Oregon's offense, their defense seems to be coming alive. Oregon may be the most complete team, not only in the Pac 12, but in football in general. And I feel sorry for USC. And USC's coming to Autzen at nighttime. The crowd's going to be rocking. They're going to be electric. They're going to be loud. I expect USC's offense to give Oregon's defense a little bit of a trouble, but I don't feel like we're going to see USC defense improve overnight like that just because now Grinch is gone. I feel like it's going to take them time to implement the new system, and I think the Ducks, I think they realize that hey, we've already got one loss, we cannot lose this, and especially if we want to be in the Pac-12 title game against Washington, as long as they don't blow it against Utah, we got to get this win. We got to keep it going. So I'm gonna take the Ducks. I think they're the most complete football team. I think USC's defense will look a little better, but they're not gonna stop Oregon now that Grinch is gone. But I think they'll be able to slow them down just a hair for a bit, but then the Ducks pick it up in the second half. I got 36, Oregon 36, USC 26. Now on to a little Big 12 action, shall we? How about West Virginia at number 17, Oklahoma? Little country roads against the Boomer Sooner. And Virginia is now bowl eligible. They are 6-3. Neil Brown seems to be getting some of their good faith back. And Oklahoma, well, unfortunately, they lost the last edition of Bedlam. They lost to Kansas on the road, and their CFP hopes are all but over. But their Big 12 title hopes are very much still intact. And Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big game to decide all of that because if they can win this game and win out, and maybe Texas gets a loss, and they own the tiebreaker over Texas, they still have everything in the front of the table to play, and so it's not over yet for Oklahoma. They can still make the Big 12 title game, get to an NY6 bowl. It's not all bad yet. But Oklahoma's got to fix the offense. Their offense, has had some inefficiencies the last 2 weeks. The defense is reverting back to the old defense of old with Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch, who we just got done talking about. And here we are. Oklahoma, Brent Venables, let's see what you got. You lost two in a row. Your college football playoff hopes are more than likely out the window. Can you keep it going? Can you keep the team's faith going? But West Virginia, Garrett Green, that offense, they've been really good, but they can't stop a locomotive either, and that's what's going to be interesting. Can Oklahoma get back on track against a West Virginia defense that's given up a lot of points to a lot of bad teams that West Virginia is considered better than? I think Oklahoma does. I think they get back on track. I think that they're able to slow down this West Virginia offense. I think Brent Venables gets this defense going in the right direction, and I think Dylan Gabriel and Oklahoma has a big day through the air. I think they get back on track 31-24 over the Mountaineers. Now on to big noon kickoff, the biggest game maybe of the weekend in college football. Number 2 Michigan and number 9 Penn State. And we're going to find out, is Penn State legitimate? Well, they already lost Ohio State 20-12. Let's see if they could do it. They're at home. It's going to be a raucous environment. They got number 2 Michigan coming into their house. The whole world's watching. How legitimate is Penn State? Can they get the big time win? Can we trust James Franklin to get it done when it matters the most? Well, Drew Aller on the road versus Drew Aller at home are two different people, and he's at home. And Drew Aller at home normally plays really well for the Nittany Lions, but they're playing a very daunted Michigan defense who does not give up a lot of yards or points. And Michigan's offense, looks like J.J. McCarthy has seemed to get back on track. Blake Corum, he's done really well. Although it would be nice if Donovan Edwards could get going in this game to help him out, because Blake Corum's getting a lot of the touches, and a nice Donovan Edwards Blake Corum game would be nice, but Donovan Edwards, I believe, has entered the transfer portal. I believe. Don't quote me on that. So that's a huge hit for Michigan because the two-headed combo of Corum and Edwards is big, but they'll be if that is true. That's a huge hit. But for this game here, it's gonna be very interesting because Michigan, this is their first big road test of the season. In my opinion, it's the biggest one to date. I think for them personally, I think if they could get to Drew Aller like they've done everybody else, Michigan's gonna have their way. But Michigan has been they can give up some long passes in the secondary, especially if Michigan's D line doesn't get home right away, and if they don't stop the run, Michigan's defense can be had because a lot of teams play the short game thinking, oh, let's just get it out quick. But if you have a good to great offensive line like Penn State has, you might want to throw it deep because the Michigan secondary, when it comes to deep passes, can be beat. But the problem is Drew Aller, when he's pressured pressured like Michigan likes to do, give those exotic blitzes, and doesn't have any time, he tends to throw picks, and that's what Michigan's defense feasts on. But looking at it from the other perspective, J.J. McCarthy, he loves to run the ball first and then throw, set up play actions, and get him going in the running game. McCarthy likes to use his legs. Penn State's got to shut that down, make McCarthy one-dimensional, and turn him over a couple times, and you'll be on your way to a big-time win. But here's the thing. I don't trust James Franklin. I don't trust him. He's shown me that against Ohio State and in these big time situations, even against Michigan the last couple years, he can't get it done. I'm sorry, James Franklin. I would like to pick you, but I just can't. I think Michigan will show. I think Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, they have earned my respect on beating Ohio State the last couple of years, consistently beating Penn State, and now beating Michigan State on a consistent basis. I think Michigan has a big day in the big house. I mean, has a big day on the road. I think Blake Corum gets in for a couple touchdowns. Michigan wins in the trenches, and I've got a Michigan 24-13 win over the Nittany Lions. Now on to this game right here. Florida at number 18, LSU in the Bayou. The Bayou Bengals, Brian Kelly. This is a very interesting game for a couple reasons. For the fact of, is Jaden Daniels going to be healthy? That's going to be the biggest key. And Florida coming off a 39-36 heartbreaking loss to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Can they get back on track? They're going at LSU. It's and it's going to be at nighttime for the Gators. You know, Graham Mertz, that crowd's going to be loud. Graham Mertz and the Gators offense, they're going to have to find ways to get the run game going, set up play action, and, you know, keep this LSU crowd out of it because LSU's defense is very bad. Florida can win this game because LSU's defense is bad. But the biggest question is Jaden Daniels going to be healthy? That's the difference maker. If Jaden Daniels is not healthy, then LSU may not win this game. But if Jaden Daniels is healthy, they very much have a realistic chance of winning this game. And that's what's very questionable. Well, I've been coin flipping on this game because you're either banking on him not being there or being there because LSU's defense can't stop nobody. It seems like they gave up 42 to Bama, who has not been ripping up the roads. But Florida, their offense has been too inconsistent as well. So I think in this game, I think regardless if Jaden Daniels is healthy, I think the LSU home crowd and the fact Florida has not won there in a while, I think that's going to make a big difference. I think I think LSU, they're going to do just enough. The home crowd, their defense might get a takeaway or two. I think LSU at home gets a tight win. A tight win. I think they get a 28-23 win over the Gators at home. Now on to a little ACC Tobacco Road Rivalry Football Edition. Duke at number 24, North Carolina, North Kakalaki. Now, this game right here, if this was basketball, it always delivers, is the old saying. But in football, will it always deliver? We'll find out on Saturday. This ought to be very interesting because Duke, just like LSU, is Riley Leonard. They have quarterback questions. Riley Leonard with the bum ankle, is he going to be healthy and ready to play? And plus, that's going to make a big difference in how Duke runs their offense because Duke, if Riley Leonard's there, you have to fear their run, and when he's not healthy, you don't fear the run as much. And if you stop Duke's running attack, they're like, we're going to make you throw, and it makes it a whole lot easier on the defense. But just like LSU, North Carolina defense can't stop nobody. And no, you cannot say Campbell is a somebody. Campbell, they're let's get serious. They're Campbell. So you can't go off that. They gave up 46 points to Georgia Tech. They gave up 31 to Virginia. Their defense, North Carolina's defense is not very good. But Drake May, Omar Hampton, Ted Walker, North Carolina offense has got it working. The only thing that concerns me, like I said, is Riley Leonard's health and can Carolina stop anybody? Because even if Riley Leonard's not healthy, I know it takes back everything I just said anybody can beat up on Carolina's defense. But if Riley Leonard's healthy, Duke can most certainly win this game. and which I hope he is healthy. See Drake May, Riley Leonard one more time in a primetime showdown, count me in. But with with the question of Riley Leonard being in or out, that changes a lot of things because Duke may be decipher to run the ball more than they normally would with Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard, Riley Leonard, gives you the threat of running the ball with his legs. Without him, it kind of takes away the threat of we just stop their passing attack. All they're going to do is pass because they can't run. Use their running attack against us. But in this game here, I think since this is at Chapel Hill and North Carolina is very much still in play for the ACC title game because my Louisville Cardinals are currently 5-1 in conference. If they win the last two, they're in, they're going. But if we lose our last two, Carolina wins out, they're in. Carolina loses one more, I believe. I believe we clinch if as long as we beat Virginia. I believe. Don't quote me on that one either. But as far as this game concerned here, I think this is going to be a game where we're going to see a game where North Carolina gets tested in the trenches. I think Duke's going to try to run the ball a little bit more, especially if Riley Leonard's not completely healthy and he plays. But if the backup's in, they're going to try to run the ball, quick screens, test the Carolina defense. I think I think that's going to be a big difference. Who wins in the trenches, in my opinion? Drake May, who's obviously a better quarterback than Haynes King and Tony Muskett, obviously, but obviously not always having the better quarterback wins you the game. So I think this is going to come down to who wins in the trenches, and I think Duke wins in the trenches. I think they get a nice little running attack on this bad Carolina defense. I got Duke winning this game 31-20. No, excuse me. I got them winning 31-26 over the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now on to another big game within the SEC. Number 14 Tennessee and number 16 Missouri. This one at Missouri. And this is very interesting for a couple different reasons. Because Tennessee, they got a date with Georgia next weekend. As Missouri, they just played Georgia and almost won, but if turnovers and just bad offensive line play wouldn't have got to them, maybe they would have won. But in this game here, Missouri comes in, off the loss against Georgia. Tennessee comes off with a 59-3 win over the Yukon Huskies. Nothing to write home about. Joe Milton and company are back on the road. And this is where the questions get really dicey because Joe Milton on the road has proven he can be very subpar at times. And, Missouri, they have a nice little home crowd. And I think, obviously it's not the swamp or it's not, over the hedges in Georgia or it's not Alabama, of course, Tuscaloosa or Death Valley in LSU. But Missouri's got a nice little home crowd. And Joe Milton on the road tends to play subpar, just like I said. But the interesting thing here is Tennessee's defense is very so-so as well. It's very lackadaisical. Both these offenses are really good. Brady Cook, Joe Milton, very good quarterbacks. I think this is going to come down to quarterback play, in my opinion. Because if Tennessee can stretch you out, get the run game going, and can hit a couple vertical shots, they can win this game. That's their offense. If they can do that, especially on the road in Missouri, they can do that. But Missouri, they've shown that they got a passing attack and they've got a bit of a running attack. And their defense held really tough against Georgia. And can they slow down this Tennessee offense? I think, this has potential to be trap game, even though Missouri is ranked. Tennessee could be looking ahead to the Bulldogs next week. I think Joe Milton, this is his must-have-it game. His must-prove-it. Like, hey, I'm not prove it that he can play on the road. He can play in a hostile environment. But Missouri, They've been known to give up some points, and they've been known to let some people down. I do think in this game, Joe Milton is the better quarterback of the two. That doesn't always mean, like I said, that Tennessee will win, but I think the Volunteers will have enough on Saturday to give Missouri a second straight loss all, on the road. No look ahead to Georgia. I got a 34-30 victory over the Missouri Tigers. Now on to a little Pac-12 action. Number 23 Arizona at the Colorado Buffs, and boy, oh boy, who could have seen Arizona at 6-3 and Jetfish had this team bowl eligible by then? I know a lot of Zona football fans might have, but I surely didn't. But they're on the road. They're coming to Boulder against primetime and the Colorado Buffs. And Colorado, this is it. This is your best chance. You're sitting at 4-5, a game under 500 with 3 games left. You got to win 2 more games to get bowl eligible. And this is very interesting because Colorado has no offensive line. Their defense can't stop a parked car. Coach Prime, you got to get them together. Colorado, their offense is Xavier Weaver, Travis Hunter, and Shador. You know, and as much as I would like to say that their offense got better this past weekend after the 26-19 loss to Oregon State, but Oregon State don't score that much either. So that doesn't really say much. Now the question is, can Colorado contain Noah Fafita and the Arizona Wildcats? Fafita, a very mobile guy, can create plays, use his legs to make things happen. I think this is very interesting for a couple reasons because this is at Colorado. This is not at Arizona. And Arizona's coming off a couple big wins in a row. And you're kind of waiting for that letdown moment. And could it be here? Because both Arizona and Colorado's defenses, especially Colorado's, has been bad at times. But Shador Sanders, Noah Fafita, I think are both spectacular quarterbacks. I think they both could have futures in the NFL, especially Shador. Noah Fafita, he's played really good ball. He's been the Joseph of energy for this Arizona offense. But I think in this game, I'm going to pick Colorado. I'm going to pick Colorado one more time. I think I think they get it done. I think this is Arizona's letdown moment. I think they get it done. And I think Colorado wins a shootout 38-35 over Arizona. Now on to the final game this week. You got number 8 Alabama at Kentucky. And this is very interesting for several reasons because you got Kentucky who are 6-3 and bowl eligible. Mark Stoops and company got a 24-3 win over Mississippi State. And then you got number 8 Alabama who got a 42-28 win over LSU and now control their own destiny. Alabama, with a win Saturday, would clinch a spot in Atlanta for the SEC championship game because they own the tiebreaker over Ole Miss, and Ole Miss, they only control their CFP hopes. They do not control their SEC title hopes. Alabama, they win Saturday, they're in. They're more than like they own the tiebreaker and they only play one more conference game, and that's against Auburn. And Ole Miss needs them to lose 2 more conference games, and they're currently unbeaten. So, could this be a potential Bama playing to get to the SEC title game? Nick Saban has gotten his guys ready to play. Especially against LSU and Tennessee, the revenge tour. You know, they're going at Kentucky. This is going to be at noon on ESPN. Wake up a little, well, not wake up a little early. Unless you're on the West Coast, then yeah. Or Central Time. Wake up about 11 to watch this. But for me here, it's going to be at noon. I think this is very interesting because Alabama, the only loss was to Texas. And they've looked really good after a lot of people predicted their demise. Jalen Milroe, the offense. Kool-Aid McKistry and that defense is balling. Even though they gave up 20 points to a very good LSU offense. I think in this game here, Kentucky, The problem with them is I think Kentucky is too one dimensional. Devin Leary got hurt this past Saturday. Is he going to be healthy? There's a lot of question marks with Kentucky right now. I think Alabama is too complete of a team. And plus, I don't think Kentucky has a very good passing attack. And if Alabama shuts down the run game, Kentucky has no offense. And I think Alabama realizes they hold their own destiny in their own hands. And I think they get it done on Saturday. I think Bama goes into Lexington and gets a 31-9 victory over Kentucky. A 31-9 victory. Alabama wins. But that was my week 11 preview and predictions. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click those notification bells. Tell me what games you're looking forward to the most. Tell me if you disagree with any of my predictions or agree. Let me know all them things, but make sure to hit that like button. Really helps the algorithm out, out. I'm looking forward to week 11. A lot of great games. But this has been Sports Talk with Austin, everybody. I'm out this thing. Peace out and